Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Share Your Grin, is what this is. Okay, listen, man. We have so many series. One's a Let's Talk, which is mostly about, like, self-reflection. One's Try Not to Grin, which is jokey fun times. And Share Your Grin is where I'm basically just ranting and raving about something that I very much think you guys should either watch, and give a chance, all of that. But also, it's a time for me to reflect on the shows I most dearly enjoy. And the show that we're going to be talking about today is called Tokyo Ghoul. It's an anime that I very, very much enjoyed. I really, really enjoyed now that I finished the entire season and it's done. And the funny thing is I actually made a Let's Talk when this was first happening. Like, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but back in the day in the anime community, Tokyo Ghoul was up there for, like, just people were so happy with it when it first came out. It was different. It was, like, edgy a little bit. It was intense. It dealt with, like, kind of violence to a degree, which was intriguing, but it also didn't vilify things too much, or maybe what's the right way to say it? It introduced an interesting way of storytelling in the sense of, here are these horrible monsters that devour human beings. It's something that we are all humans. Will they eat us? But even though this person's a ghoul, well, what happens if that ghoul is a little tiny child who just wants to survive and doesn't want to hurt anybody, but just this is a part of what is survival for them. If they don't do this, then they die. It's this poor, sad, innocent girl that can transform into this monster. But generally, it's like the whole thing, the whole series. I'm sure there's some person who's already made a fantastic video about the philosophy in the show, about, like, how it very much seems like, to me, it's like the price of survival and also coexistence, but also morality. Honestly, I feel like this show, especially the third season, they really hammer home these subliminal acts of morality that are trickled in, where, like, the main character, when he truly faces his own emotions, it's a very cold, analytical view of himself. Like, oh, I just wanted people to love me and all these things. Okay, I don't want to spoil anything. But regardless, yeah, and I guess I should do this. So for those of you who are utterly confused about what I'm talking about, essentially, Tokyo Ghoul is based on this fantastic premise of, well, it's not fantastic, it's horrifying, but it's interesting. So generally, the story is kind of set in this. So there are ghouls all around the world. And they're very, very, like, hidden. Like, as much as they are, like, no, people have a slight understanding of them, it seems, they're like very much muffled out by media, by the government, by everything. But there seems to be some sort of subliminal thing that people are aware of what it is and that they potentially could exist. Season 2 is weird because season 2 you meet the agency and it kind of makes it seem like everyone knows what the hell ghouls are. Anyways, regardless, we followed the story of this very, very quiet bookworm kind of kid. Which you'll find out more things about him, and he's not just that. He's went through some trauma with his family and all these things. But essentially, he's this very quiet kid who sees a pretty girl in a coffee shop. And he actually goes, I think, on a date with this very, very pretty girl who's significantly older than him. Very weird. But anyways, red flags all around. But he ends up going out with her, coming back from that date, and she ends up ripping a hole in his shoulder/neck, finding out that she's basically a ghoul. But then miraculously, somebody saves him by throwing all of this construction work on her, and they're both down for the count. Essentially, she's dead, but this benevolent doctor, basically takes the organs of the ghoul and puts them in, of course, the injured boy. And that is what we're starting with. It's basically the premise of, okay, well, somehow they've made a half-breed, and what is the journey of this? And it explores, like, the monster nature, which I really like, honestly. I wish more shows did stuff like that, where they don't, like, get bogged down by all of these monsters, or if they did, they would take their time talking about each one. But basically, they go through, like, the shittiness of being a ghoul, to where it reworks your entire system, so where, like, you're vomiting up any food you eat, because it's just vile, because your body's trained to eat humans. That's how you survive. Also, you have a crazy strength, and you have something called a kook, something like that. It's some sort of weird power that essentially is like a mutation, I guess, which comes in the form of, like, a deadly mutation. So for him, it's basically 3 tails, or tails, basically. This, like, blood tail that can morph into various different shapes, which is badass. So that's myself. If you like monster movies, if you like the kind of looking into, like, the darker ideas of things, but then also feeling empathy for those things, it's a fantastic show. I'd highly suggest it. Okay, Okay, now this is the whole reason why I wanted to make this video. I gotta talk about it. Okay, it's a very selfish video. I don't think this will get any sort of traction, but it's a selfish video for me because I just finished the series, and I gotta just pick your guys' brains about it. For anyone who's finished it like a year ago, because I got to this really late. Because people were telling me how absolutely terrible season 2 was, which I will admit, just like the whole premise of the show is season 1 is slow, but then it revs up at the second half of season 1, I guess. So yeah, it goes really slow, and then as soon as he gets his white hair, boom, it's off to the races. You're just go, which is nice. But then it goes super slow again in season 2, where he basically, it's like a reboot of Tokyo Ghoul / yeah, it's a very interesting reboot because it's a reboot without being a reboot. It's like a reboot, then a continuation. It's very weird. It's like a kind of a lie, I guess. But regardless, people were saying how shitty Tokyo Ghoul had become because, again, it was like one of the most critically acclaimed anime for the first 20 episodes. And then it just pivoted hard, and people were like, it's so shit. The reboot ruined everything. I hate it. But I didn't really hear much about it because I think people were just burned by it. But season 3, man, oh boy, season 3 is nice, and that's the thing. Season 3, by the way, revs up again. So it goes first 12 episodes real slow, really slow. The second 12 episodes fast as shit. Then it's really slow, and then it's really fast. So that's how it ends. It's this fast paced, blah, 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 blah. But it also felt like it was trying to wrap up everything that it needed to wrap up because there was some things that weren't answered, some questions that weren't exactly addressed. But alas, again, I want to talk about like the criticism for the show because again, I haven't heard many people talk about the final send off, and everyone who I have heard talk about it have been like, oh, it's great, I love the series. But for people who stopped watching it at season 2, I guess, the reboot kind of, yeah, they hate it, but and for understandably. But it's weirdly one of those things, and I would highly advise if anyone who was in that situation where they watched a part of season 2 and they were like, okay, this reboot is just not doing it for me, I hate it. It is worth watching, but it is basically like this glorified middle part. And because of the outroar of this middle part, it feels like part 3 is basically trying to win over the fans that were annoyed. But also, it also sacrifices paying off that middle point. And I don't know why I'm jumping around spoilers, because we're gonna get into spoilers probably already. We've done it. But regardless, before we actually get into headstrong spoilers, one of the things I wanted to talk about is I was one of those people that watched the first kind of big bang of Tokyo Ghoul, who like really enjoyed the premise of it and was interested to see where it went, and then when it ended on that cliffhanger with him holding his friend, I was like, oh, okay, let's see what goes down. Only to then see people tear it to pieces with the reboot. And I seen the reboot and I was like, what? Because they didn't really say that it was a reboot, but it felt like that. But anyways, I basically got turned off by it because I heard people saying it was so shit, and I was like, I really liked the first season. I don't want to ruin it by watching the second one, although I always had plans to go and watch it just because I liked the first one so much. But I just took my time. But then I took my time so much that the third season came out, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess there's like a lot more content to watch. I guess this is kind of good if I do happen to like season 2, which a lot of people didn't like. But then I seen an AMVA, which is it's an anime music video. Don't judge me. Anyways, and it showed a clip of the ending of season 3, the ending of the anime. And to me, the clip that's like 5 seconds was like, oh, okay, it doesn't end bad. And that, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is like a big part of me. Is I truly do believe a show can be so fantastic, amazing, just a beautiful journey. But if you get to the end and it's just sad, unfulfilling, shitty, loss, then for me, I just feel like I wasted my time. You know what I mean? Again, like some people are like, it's the journey that counts. But yeah, if the journey ends in agony, then it's like, well, then why did I even read the story if it's just going to be a nightmare situation, you know? So for me, the fact that I seen that it did have a good ending, a happy ending, I was like, okay, that means no matter what kind of shit that happens, I know that our boy, the person that I cared about having watched the first season, is going to get to where I need him to be. So I was like, okay, I'm ready to watch this now. Because that's also one of the things I didn't really mention is this series is like, again, I did mention it. not only does it question like the idea of monsters and like coexistence and humanity and morality, but it also is rough. Like, people die in this show, which is rare. Well, it's weird. With anime, it's either like everybody dies, life is meaningless, or nothing can kill the main character. He's God. No one he loves is ever gonna die. So it'd be nice if there was a medium. This, I guess, kind of is a medium because only. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, so that's my spoiler warning. Cool. If we're gonna get into me just shitting on season 2, but also loving it because of what happened in season 3. So season 3, this is just me just like going whole hog. Okay, I don't know, man. I feel a bit like jaded because basically season 3 is our main character having like lost himself, but it plays with this interesting idea of if you lose yourself, whatever comes next probably wants to survive and probably wants to hang on to the good things he has. So you have like a split personality. But it's interesting because at the ending of the show, it feels very good. Like you're just so excited to see like your character, your guy, because throughout the entire show you've seen like almost calcified all of his good aspects, like his caring nature, his work ethic, his human understanding, like emotionally smart. The main character Tokyo Ghoul is, but we lose all of the things that he also attained, which is this ferocity, this coldness to him that understands the shittiness of the world as well. So you lose like the person who you spent a whole season developing. You know what I mean? So you feel very like cheated almost. Like, this isn't the guy who he should be, because the person that I seen went through some shit to be the badass that he is. You know what I mean? So it's this weirdness. Narratively speaking, I think it's brilliant because, again, season 3 makes it all make sense of why they took so long to show you what this part of his life where he was basically lost was. And also to make him the insane badass that he becomes. So to me, it's really interesting because I always try to think of things as like storytelling, and I always like to hear storytellers explain the thought process of storytelling. And a lot of times, they basically explain like, okay, this is the character that we have. I need him to be these 3 things for the final act. So say the guy says, okay, we need our main character to get another boost of strength. We need him to be strong as shit. Okay, well, we need to reach that pillar. Okay, so the other pillar is we need him to be like very, very strong-willed, like to be a leader through and through, which he wasn't right now. So we need him to become a leader. Third, we need him to have regret, basically. We need him to basically be pushed to be more than he is. So for me, I'm like, okay, so not only in season 2, the reboot aspect of the show, he's being taught by the best ghoul slayer that's ever lived. He's just like an animal, his teacher. The best ghoul killer in the world, basically. So he's his swordplay, his fighting technique, everything. I think he dies 200 times, but he regens. And the dude just keeps killing him and practicing. So he gets this monstrous strength to eventually be able to kill him. And then the third thing, what was it? It was, taking responsibility, being a leader. So not only through that, the whole show is he like being the leader and being like mom, basically. Well, at the end, he also has to be dad. So he has like this, he has this caring nature to him, but he's also his normal self at the end of season 2. So he becomes this like, just, I guess, both sides of the coin, where he's super caring and cares for his people, but also knows how to lead them, but also is brutal because that's who he was in the beginning. So it's kind of like these 2 people become one for the better. But then it's like, okay, but how does he become, in season 3, he becomes the one-eyed, the one-eyed king. So it's like, okay, well, how do we make him a leader, but not only a leader, but a leader who has to push towards the future? And of course, to me, that is the idea that he wasted away like 3 or 4 years. Well, everyone that he loved was suffering, dying. He was a part of the suffering and dying, and all that stuff. So it's like, okay, for a story-wise, this makes so much sense. Where like the author was like, okay, we need to get here, and this is where it ends, and we need to get our main character going this way. The only thing is that it's very slow. It kind of feels like they were trying to milk the series a touch when it comes to this last, or season 2. And it's funny because I feel like they were like, we milked the series too much, let's quickly go through season 3. Then again, I don't know how the manga is written. I've never read the manga, so maybe the manga is just that's the way it's structured. Super slow in this aspect, but then when it comes to wrapping things up, it's just fast. Although I do think some of the questions were probably answered in the book, or in the anime, sorry. But I think narratively it makes so much sense, and I think I love it for that reason, that narrative kind of beats that it hits. One thing that I will say there were like some annoyances that I had throughout the whole series. Like, for instance, the one dude who is like the co-leader, the one who's like super edgy, who has like a mole on his eye. He has like a kagune, that's what it is. That's a word for it. Your like mutation. That's like super. It's like a giant sword. He goes ballistic shit. Yeah, he to me didn't make the most sense, just genuinely. Like, it was one of those things where it feels like, to a narrative degree, he was just written and had to stay the way he was. But it was weird because there were so many moments where he should have changed because of the things and the happenings around him, but never did. But he kind of did, I guess. It was a weird thing. Yeah, that one's weird. I don't know how to put it besides, okay, so. Also, just a random thing, in the last season, what do you call it? The green-haired chick, that never got resolved, unless it was like one of those after credits scenes, which I never checked for the show. But yeah, like, she ended up like fucking over the main character bad. But then again, the whole like show is very smart if you think about like the human feelings that you have by time. So what I mean by that is, for whatever reason, the ghouls handled it really well. Like, this person that they loved and they're friends with leaving them. But then again, season 2 already ended in a way that like left him. Like, he already kind of like abandoned his people for trying to help them. And then you find out that that's a bad idea, and no one wants shit. Regardless, so I think they were already kind of distant, but seeing him basically lose himself, I think, pulled them all to him. But anyways, in the context for the green-haired girl, who like he protected, he loved, he fostered, and all these things, I think at the ending, to like, you could just be like, she just turned into a crazy bitch for the narrative's sake. But I think he was gone. I think it said like I don't know how long it was. I think it was like 5 months or 2 months later or something, or like 2 years later. I don't know what it was, but a lot of time had passed between these acts, and to me it kind of shows that like this person was such a fundamental pillar for this green-haired girl, the one who was in like his unit in season 2, the one who had like an eye patch and shit. He was such a pillar in her life that even if even if he left for like 2 years, he was her pillar. So like, it would make sense that she would start to come undone, and she also almost got molested, but then fucking eviscerated the person who was doing that. Yeah, so it's just a weird thing. Again, some of these things do feel like narratively they just have to put it here, which again, maybe because the manga just tried to hurry things up, or sorry, the anime tried to hurry things up, where the manga took its time and made sure these things made sense. But yes, a lot of it is just like, okay, I guess we're here now. Like, okay, she hates him, and she's just, okay, we're not going to see what the person said to her to make her hate him so much, or not hate him so much, but like want to kill the person that he loves, all that stuff. What else? What else is there? Honestly, the only thing I really have to say, just on like for ending thoughts, because again, I wish I would have made this earlier, because I finished it 3 days ago, and I had a time, like 2 days is enough for you like to understand it. 3 days is enough for you to forget about the shit that you loved a little bit. But what do you call it? The season 3, what I do know is I really thought it came back around. And again, having watched season 3, I am kind of grateful for season 2, although I don't want to watch it over again. The really slow part of like, again, him being in this like, I don't know who I am state. But again, it didn't make season 3 feel thicker almost, because he did have more like emotional attachment to these people. We did gotta kind of pivot to like seeing these scenes with these characters, and then coming back to the main character, and like it in that way that the person wrote it did flush out the world and make it feel more varied and dense. But then that also, it leads the problem of, okay, if you're going to show all this, some questions are going to have to be left unanswered because we only have so much time. So I kind of do get that. But again, dude, it's so nice that again I finished the season, and someone on stream, I think it was when we were streaming, I was mentioning that I was like, I'm finally going into Tokyo Ghoul, I'm binging the shit out of it, I'm trying to crank it all down. And I mentioned that I started watching it because I seen an AMVA that showed that the ending was on the nicer side. And I was like, okay, good, that means I can watch this without being like destroyed after the fact, right? Which if that is the case, then I need to emotionally prepare to get my ass kicked. But someone said in the stream, yeah, it has a surprising ending. And I watched it, and I will say I understand what the person was meaning, because it does like, I very, very much thought, and this is just a weird like tangent, but I did think that the main character was going to basically like, he was going to be forced with a choice to where he had to like sacrifice himself and become like this blood tree, because I thought I seen that in the beginning of the season. But yeah, I definitely thought he was going to become like this blood tree, and that was going to be his wish granted, which his whole wish throughout season 3 is finding a way to coexist with human beings and ghouls, which I think the math actually checks out to where that could be possible. The reason why is because I think it's like, for like, human beings will always have dominance over the planet, but ghouls come from nothing. Ghouls come from like anything. So you could be have a normal parents, but then birth a ghoul. So the idea is like, if you are going to keep killing ghouls, well, then they are going to keep killing humans. So the only way to fix it is to find a way for you to both be satisfied to where you both don't keep dying or killing each other. Because if there's always a high amount of human beings, there's always enough food to feed the ghouls. It almost even like I'm talking like old people dying, and then the only thing we have to get over is what do you call it? Not burying our dead, but feeding them to people. It's just fucked. But if it's that, or you get these ravenous monsters that we can't distinguish who or who, that just eviscerate everyone, then yes, it's like, okay, well, there's a net negative death to this outcome of trying to coexist. So I think that was the issue too. But not only that, but I think in the ending they mentioned something about like sell something. So I don't know what that means. I think in the manga, if you did read the manga, what does that mean? What is the true ending of Tokyo Ghoul? What does it mean? Does it mean like, hey, since this centipede thing, they found cells in that thing that made massive scientific improvements to cellular repair, I think is what they said. But if that is the case, how did they fix the whole like coexisting with ghouls kind of thing, or did they ever? Regardless, what I do know is I very, very much do enjoy the ending of the show. I am a bit sad that the characters who I thought was just like a dumb idiot quickly became in season 2 my favorite character, which is the guy who like shaved his head bald. He became the captain, and he just seemed like a really, really good dude. And then he died in a way that I was also like, okay, all right, that seems wasteful. And everyone at the end lived. But when I was like, oh, well, his sister did live, so I guess it's some sort of like his wish got granted. But I was also like, well, I mean, I also call bullshit. I wish he would have lived. But again, I'm grateful because this show could have ended like that, where like the main character sacrifices himself, and then his baby and the love of his life goes. Yeah, again, that was another thing that felt super rushed, which is like the whole love interest at the end. They're like, do you want to bang? Yeah, and that's it. And then it ends in a child. But also when what do you call it? He like learns that he might be a father, so then he asks her, and he sits down beside her, and she's like, "Do you wanna?" And he's like, "No, I mean, yes, but." I was like, okay, we're getting really lewd in a weird, like a quiet way, like a forward way. That's what I'm trying to say, a forward way. But I thought it was cute. But again, it definitely did was just like, holy shit, we're going like 0 to 100 fast as shit kind of thing. Oh, and then one more final thing. The one thing that did bother me quite a bit is his whole friend, to where like I'm watching the 3rd season and I'm like, so like his friend just doesn't exist anymore. They just like retconned, or his friend died. His friend, like in season 1 or season 1, where like he's holding his friend, and then he gets captured by the enemy. They never bring it up, and then in the final season, we go through so many episodes and they're not bringing it up, and in the final season, they're finally like, by the way, yeah, he's alive. He was the weirdo with the mask. But also, why is he missing half of his face? I'm so confused. I don't think his face blew off. I think he just like bled out in his arms, face still intact. So what happened to his whole mouth getting ripped off? I don't know. Did he become a ghoul too, and that was like the sacrifice that he had, or did his friend bite? I don't know. Maybe I haven't seen season 1 again, and he did get his like face blown off, but they just never showed his like mouth. They just showed his like eyes, maybe through camera angles. I don't know. Regardless, it felt weird. The whole friend situation, I was just like, and that's quickly wrapped up, even though it was a question that was like asked fucking forever ago, and in the final like 3 episodes, they're like, by the way, answered, and I'm like, okay, feels like real late, but sure. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I would highly suggest a show. This has been a crazy man rambling about Tokyo Ghoul. Great. Tokyo Ghoul for a very long time. Would highly advise watching it. Again, especially now knowing that like this show it's kind of like is it Parasite? I think it's Parasite. Parasite. But yeah, basically it's the idea of like there's a show that's very brutal, it's very sad, it got like people die left and right, but the ending is wholesome and nice. So it doesn't just end in a very shitty manner. So like as long as you know that the journey won't end in just pain and misery, that's a nice thing to carry you forward, you know what I mean? Because there's often times in these shows where like if it ends like this, I'm gonna be over it. I'm gonna be real annoyed, feel like I wasted my goddamn time. But then again, that's just my viewing habit and experience. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been Share Your Grin, me rambling about a series that I enjoyed greatly. And honestly, I feel satisfied when I ended it, like closing a good book. You know what I mean? Not like feeling like yeah, there were some things that weren't answered, but honestly, I didn't need them to be answered. They weren't like that crucial to me. I did love the narrative beats, and I liked understanding the way the story kind of happened because of those narrative beats. I like that he got together with the one girl, because I was rooting for that from the beginning. I like that he basically became the king of all ghouls, which was sick as fuck. He also is undoubtedly the strongest thing in the world, so that's cool too. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to mention about season 3 real quick. Why in the hell did she go from being able to kill the strongest ghoul killer on the planet, which every like SSSS tier ghoul can't do shit about, but then when he gets fought with like these bitch ass things, these half ghouls, he gets his head kicked in? Like, I will say, the combat in the fighting shit does very much feel like it is like plot armor or like plot damage, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, but this doesn't make sense for how strong you were, and then you're letting these things destroy you in this way. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And maybe they mentioned like the Kagune is based on your emotions. So when he's fighting his like dad figure, he was just fucking hulking out. But then when he fought against these like echoes of himself, I guess he was sad. I don't know, or maybe because they had regen. Although he's fucking obliterated people, so I don't get it. Even if they had regen, you could eviscerate them. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Sorry, I just wanted to mention that the power structure of like the OP-ness of the main character, utterly shit throughout the whole show, honestly. But it's enjoyable nevertheless. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Subscribe button over there, as well as 2 videos further that way. Thank you again. Also, if you like this video, I see you, and